Honorable Union Minister Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, Honorable Chancellor SIU Dr. S.B. Mujumdar sir, Dr. Vidya Yeravtekar, Pro Chancellor, Dr. Rajni Gupte, Vice Chancellor, Directors, Faculty, Transformational Student Leaders of SIMS MBA batch, and ladies and gentlemen, a very warm good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all to the 12th Annual International Research Conference, SIMSARC. The theme for this year is New Normal, New Ways, Implications for Business, Environment, and Society. We are greatly honored and extremely grateful to the Honorable Minister for accepting the invitation as chief guest for the inaugural session. With this, I would like to invite Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, Honorable Chancellor SIU, and request him to address the gathering. Sir.
Namaste to all of you. The chief guest of this conference, Nitinji Gadkari, Dr. Vidya, the Pro Chancellor of our university, Dr. Rajni Gupte, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Vidya Devekar, the Director of Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies, faculty, all those researchers who have contributed their research papers. I'm really happy that we have Nitinji Gadkari as chief guest for this conference, which is very relevant. The conference is New Normal and New Ways. I think Brigadier might have thought of this subject as a result of consequences of pandemic. I do believe that pandemic has taught us certain very important lessons. It has, of course, destroyed economy, education, property, and all that. But still, it has also taught us certain lessons. And what are those lessons? The lessons are, it has taught us the importance of health and immunity, family relations, spirituality. It has also taught us the importance of interdependence, coexistence. And we have all learned during this pandemic that you alone are not safe unless all around you are safe. And finally, all of us must have realized by now the futility of greed and luxury. And perhaps out of this uncertainty that we are now thinking of new normal, new world, and we are trying to find out what will be the impacts of this new normal on our business and society. Dr. Brigadier Devekar, I would like to say something to your institution, to you and to your colleagues. Today's chief guest is perhaps the best guide for us to tell us what will be the impacts of new normal and new ways. Why am I saying it? Because Dr. Vidya told me just now that you should find out your colleagues and your students to meet our chief guest, Nitinji Gadkari, and to find out what are the ways of figuring out what are the ways whereby we can implement new normal and how it will shape our management courses. Friends, Vidya calls this as Gadkari management, and I will tell you why. When someone says impossible, Nitinji Gadkari says possible. When someone says impractical, Gadkari says no, it is possible. When someone says it is impractical, he says no, it is easily practical. Now, he has very rare knack of finding solutions to our problems. For example, petrol prices are increasing. Now, he has come out with a solution of ethanol and electric vehicles. He has a very interesting knack. We call it highways. He says, why not have waterways? We say bus stop. He said, no, we say airport, which provides so many facilities. There are restaurants, there are other facilities, there are other goods, there are stalls which sell many souvenirs, clothes, luxury articles. He says, why not have similar bus stops comparable to the airport? What I mean is, Nitin Gadkari is a true leader who has, because he has confidence to stand alone. He has courage to take tough decisions. He has compassion to listen to the needs of others. And most importantly, he has a rare gift to think of out-of-box solutions and innovations. Dr. Divekar, I request you to study Gadkari management and find out whether our Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies can create a case study, the way he thinks, the way his positivity, his rare art, out of box thinking. And such a study will tell us, our students and our researchers, what to do after COVID, what to do during this new world and new normal. And therefore, I strongly advise you to study, I will say, study Gadkari, study his way of thinking, study his way of finding out of box solutions and innovations. Gadkari ji, I am not praising you. There is no need for me to praise you because I have experienced how he thinks out of box. I will give you an example. There was a huge corporation line lying in Nagpur area. And somehow there was a line where there was not really much demand, and the whole locality was in a way a backward locality. Because as in Pune, there are backward localities in Nagpur also. But he found out a way to improve that locality. And how? He persuaded Nagpur Municipal Corporation to give us 75 acres of land and requested us to start education institution. We accepted the request and we completed the whole project in 1 year. Can you think of completing project worth 30 lakh square feet construction in just 1 year? So he inspired us, he encouraged us, he provided us all facilities, he solved all the problems that came in our way pertaining to the permissions and passing of the plan, etc., etc. And believe me, within 1.5 years, our huge campus and Nagpur was ready. And then what happened? There are about 8,000 to 10,000 students on the campus. So many professors are staying on the campus. But more than that, the area around that particular university, our university campus, is considerably improved. Economy is improved. There is cleanliness. There are so many small shops which have come here and there. So this is what I call out-of-box thinking. This is what I call finding out solutions. This is what I call making impossible possible. So let this thought be discussed during this conference. I'm sure it is worth studying as a case study in management. Thank you, Nitinji, for coming over here, and I wish the conference a great success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for those enlightening words. The stage is now set to hear one of the most dynamic, futuristic, and visionary minister who is well known and respected for his innovative thoughts, ideas, and solutions. It's always a pleasure to listen to him as one learns new things from him. Today, I'm sure, is going to be no exception. The minister is well known to all and hardly calls for an introduction. Yet, there are facets of him that need to be highlighted and projected, which we shall now be doing so through this small introductory video on him.
There are followers, there are leaders, and then there are visionary. Taking people and society to where they ought to be rather than where they want to be is what separates a visionary from a mere leader. This rare quality is what sets apart Nitin Gadkari, Minister of Road Transport and Highways, from many of his ilk. Born in 1957 into a free-thinking agricultural family, Nitin Gadkari at heart has always been a social worker inspired by the RSS founder KB Hedgewar's ideals of humanity and nation building. Taking off as a Minister of the Public Works Department in 1995, Nitin Gadkari made groundbreaking changes in the speed the city of Mumbai traveled. So impressed was the then PM Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji with Gadkari ji's performance as PWD Minister that he offered him a responsibility of weaving road nets in the whole of rural India. The outstanding Swarnim Chaturbhuj Yojana, of which Shri Gadkari ji was the chairman, is the culmination of these efforts. 55 flyovers dotting the city have made commuting in Mumbai much easier than ever before. The foundation for the magnificent Bandra-Worli Sea Link was also readied during this time. The jewel in the crown of Maharashtra, India's first expressway, the world-class Pune-Mumbai Expressway, is also a futuristic project imagined and brought to fruition by Nitin Gadkari. Connecting over 13,000 unconnected villages with an all-weather $100 million USD project is another feat accomplished by this far-sighted visionary. Nagpur, his hometown, has seen first of its kind double-decker bridge. An innovative beautification of flyover using local artists and painting of great political and social leaders was added attraction. Ajni Intermodal Station will have connectivity between long-distance buses, city buses, railways, metro and indirect link with city airport. Nagpur Broad Gauge Metro, which is a commuter rail project planned for Nagpur city and extending up to adjacent areas of Wardha, Narkhed, Ramtek, Bhandara and Chhindwara. World-class institutions like IIT, IIM and AIIMS emerge and thrive under his watchful gaze. This is in addition to the over 1,000 Ekal Vidyalayas that go a long way into molding the future tribal generations. Performing over 10,000 successful heart surgeries is another stupendous achievement in his illustrious career as a warm-hearted do-gooder. The city of Nagpur is the first city to explore alternative biofuels for transport. These include Bio-CNG buses. His innovative idea of India's first of its kind CNG-run tractor has proved to be farmer-friendly, cost-effective and helping in reducing air pollution. In a historic push for biofuels, Gadkari ji is introducing flex engines which will run on 100% ethanol, directly providing additional income to farmers and the agricultural sector. Sanskritik Mahotsav, motivating local artists to go nationally. Krida Mahotsav, supporting local sportsmen to showcase their abilities and motivate them to go nationally and on Olympic level. Projects like AgroVision are helping farmers with latest technologies and practices. His idea of using sewage water for power generation, use of ethanol as fuel have added a whole new dimension to the city's development program. As India's current Minister of Road Transport Highways, he has re-energized the whole sector with his clear vision. With more than 40,000 kilometers of national highways constructed in the last 7 years, 60,000 kilometers of new roads under his supervision are being constructed. The speed of road construction from a mere 3 kilometers in 2014 has grown to 40 kilometers in 2021. The dazzling Delhi-Mumbai Expressway has set 4 new world records with 12,500 cubic meters of concrete being laid down on the 4-lane stretch of 25.4 kilometers. These world records are as follows: highway construction rate at 37 kilometers per hour, construction of 2.5 kilometer long 4-lane concrete road near Vadodara at Delhi-Mumbai Expressway in 24 hours, laying down of 26 kilometer long bitumen road at Solapur-Bijapur section of NH52 in 21 hours. A 50% growth in the length of the national highways in the last 7 years of the NDA government is a monumental achievement. The figures went up from 91,287 kilometers to 1,37,625 kilometers. Going further, INR 3.32 lakh crore is allotted for 22 Greenfield Expressway, initiated by the bridge building messiah, as he is fondly referred to. Bharatmala and Sagarmala, 2 world-class access-controlled expressway projects led by Nitin Gadkari, are presently in various stages of construction. The Bharatmala project seeks to eliminate the perennial road traffic movement imbroglio across the country. With Nitin Gadkari taking charge, India's much maligned logistics sector has also metamorphosed from a point-to-point model to a hub-and-spoke model. This multimodal transport system integrates railways, highways, inland waterways, and airports, conjuring a highly effective transportation grid, substantially reducing logistic costs and pollution. 35 multimodal logistic parks, 50 economic corridors, 10 intermodal stations are being readied for the monumental effort. Logistics summits with the international participants, including government organizations and the World Bank, leading to MOUs worth 2 lakh crore, have been held to add muscle to the initiative. Among his other endeavors, unprecedented progress is evident in port industrialization, national water highway traffic, jetties for coastal tourism, Ganga Yamuna cleaning, fundraising, asset monetization project, toll operate transfer. As MSME Minister, he has gone all the way to promote entrepreneurship, helping rural youth to adopt Khadi as a means of self-employment. The MSME Ministry has also found wings under Mr. Gadkari. He changed the definition for classification of MSME. Now, a company investing 1 crore and earning a turnover of 5 crore will be classified as micro company. The portal Udyam Registration UR offers faceless, fully online, paperless and transparent MSME registration process fully integrated with income tax and GSTN systems. His brainchild, Jal Kranti, Buldhana pattern of water conservation which changed economy of villages by rejuvenating water bodies, has won a global award. Mr. Gadkari introduced the first ever vehicle scrapping policy, which proved to be the fight against pollution and in the interest of road and vehicle safety. New FASTag policy is helping commuters to save their fuel and time on toll plazas. Some of his major work, like unprecedented push for research and development in electric vehicles, leading research and development for usage of waste materials in highway construction to cut down highway construction costs and generate wealth out of waste materials, developing ropeways and funicular railways in the remotest parts of the country, thus boosting tourism. Panchgaon project for women of making carpets from scrap cloth is a classic example of women empowerment. Khadi Prakritik paint, which is made from cow dung, is aiding in employment in rural areas and have exponentially improved rural economy. When all industries were shut in the pandemic, Mr. Gadkari empathized with people by conducting webinars and 800 plus video conferences. His quick decision making in procuring oxygen PPE kits helped those affected by the deadly virus. He generously donated ambulances to NGOs, helped to set up oxygen plants, factory to make remdesivir injections and injections for mucormycosis. Thus, by showcasing strong leadership and taking quick decisions, he handled the COVID situation effectively. His affable nature goes beyond everyday personal equations as he continues to transmit his radiance and ideas to every individual or organization with his unmatched zeal. Gifted with an ability to dream the seemingly impossible dreams and getting them to fruition also defines this clairvoyant visionary. Nitin Gadkari shines on as one of modern India's pioneering leaders and his work a template for the coming generations. If there ever was the infrastructure man of India, he would answer to the name Nitin Jairam Gadkari.
That was an informative and educative video clearly depicting what the Honorable Minister is, what he stands for, what he has achieved, and what is his vision. I now request our Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, Honorable Union Minister, to deliver his address. Thank you, sir.
आदरणीय डॉक्टर मुजुमदार, डॉक्टर रजनी गुप्ते, डॉक्टर विद्या रुडेकर, Dr. Rajiv Divekar, distinguished dignitaries, academicians, researchers, colleagues from industries, and all my dear friends. I am delighted to be here virtually with you at all the 12th Annual International Research Conference, SIMSARC, of the Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies this year. Symbiosis is the premier MBA institute established under the first ever public-private partnership between Symbiosis and the Ministry of Defense for imparting management education primarily to defense personnel and their dependents. I would also like to congratulate here the parent Symbiosis International University on the occasion of their Golden Jubilee year, and I wish you all the very best for future progression and accomplishment. Today, it is my pleasure to deliver an address on the theme, The New Normal, New Ways, Implication for Business, Environment and Society, where adoption of cutting-edge technology, innovations, and digitalization would bring case of ease of living life. We strongly believe that society should be livable, workable, and sustainable for all, with an important focus on ethics, ecology, and the environment. We all must be aligned with the commitment made by our Honorable Prime Minister recently at the COP26 summit to achieve the target of net zero emissions by the year 2070. This is a challenge which calls for a concentrated efforts from all stakeholders, particularly the young educated generation like you. India is the fastest growing economy. Infrastructure development plays an important role in the fulfilling the vision of India is becoming a $5 trillion economy in the next 5 years. In the past, state-wise lockdown due to COVID-19 have led to some delays in the implementation of infra projects in the country. But friends, we are now gradually coming out from the dark era of the pandemic and settling into the new normal life. The government has given a massive push to economy through the National Infrastructure Pipeline and PM Gati Shakti National Yojana, that National Master Plan. And this program should ensure integrated and holistic infra development in the country. The government is dedicatedly working towards the development of national highway network of 2 lakh kilometer length by 2025, and we are developing 22 greenfield access control expressways. Besides cutting travel time and fuel cost, it would bring socio-economic development to the region. I am just giving you the example. Now presently the all traffic from the North India going to South India is going through Pune and is Pune to Bangalore and Pune to Solapur road. So now we have taken a decision to make a green highway, new access control green express highway from Surat coming to Nashik, Nashik to Ahmednagar, Ahmednagar to Solapur, by which they don't need to go to Mumbai to and Pune. So this only one decision going to resolve the 50% traffic jam problem and pollution problem in Pune and Mumbai. So these are the new type of new innovations regarding road construction we are taking initiative. There is a huge scope for involving young engineers and MBA graduates in the national mission where you all can effectively contribute for construction management, timely execution of projects, cost analysis, and steps that will improve the overall execution of road projects. Our mission is we need to reduce the cost of the construction and improve the quality of construction. That is the mission. Reducing logistic cost to below 10% of GDP is at the top of the agenda. So the government is developing integrated inland waterways, air connectivity, and road network. We are developing 35 multimodal logistic parks and allied ecosystem like a warehouse, cold storage across the country. We have successfully incorporated the fast tag system at toll plaza across all national highways, and further the ministry is working towards enabling GPS-based tolling, which will facilitate real-time remote tracking of cargo vehicles for better route and inventory planning by business. To improve the efficiency of logistics in the country, the people like you can play an important role by doing research, innovations, and case studies in the warehousing and inventory management systems. There is a huge scope for application of management skills in demand supply analysis, network planning, route optimization, and efficiency of remote sensing, machine learning, and artificial intelligence technologies in the supply chains. This will open doors for application of skills in operation to manage the change that we are trying to bring in the transport sector as well. With so many upcoming new alternative fuels such as ethanol, LNG, bio-CNG, electric, green hydrogen, the transport sector in India is standing at a very important junction. Whatever policies we design and adopt right now will have the weight for the next 30 to 40 years, and we have a huge responsibility on our shoulders. And as the transport minister, I am constantly working toward designing policies which are market friendly and also transformative. We must be open to new technologies. What we need is a motivated push for technologies which have a positive impact on the ecology and environment. We can use our knowledge in management fields to constantly work and improve the economic viability of such technologies. I firmly believe that more than technical feasibility, economic viability is more important for any upcoming technology. Today, India is becoming the largest EV market for electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and cars. Startup and new entrants in the EV industry are performing well over traditional auto players. The per kilometer cost of petrol-based vehicle is rupees 10 rupees per kilometer. For diesel, it is rupees 7 rupees per kilometer, and for electric, it is only 1 rupees per kilometer. I am giving a special push for ethanol as a fuel. The biggest benefit is that it is a clean fuel with a very low greenhouse gas emission, and the additional income is directly diverted to the farmers, which empowers the rural and backward economy. We are committed to delivering flex engines soon that give the users an option to run on either 100% petrol or 100% bioethanol. And this technology is available in the countries like Brazil, Canada, and the USA. The green hydrogen is a zero carbon fuel and sustainable alternative to coal, oil, and gas-based energy sources. It is fuel for the future. With the development of low-cost electrolyzers and sustainable storage, transport, and dispensing mechanism, the cost of green hydrogen can come down below 80 rupees per kg. The municipal sewage water can be potential source for green hydrogen, which can be utilized to run public transport buses and taxis in the cities. We are also exploring use of green hydrogen as a fuel for railway, marine and aviation application, and it will be a potential source of energy across the various sectors like fertilizers, cement, steel, mining and heating industries. With this alternative fuel for transport, we require expertise from young business graduates like all of you to better understand the market and take the appropriate steps to increase market accessibility of all these policy measures. One more area where I feel that young minds like all of you can do wonders is the concept of waste to wealth. I always say that no person and nothing is waste. It depends upon the appropriate technology to convert the waste into wealth. And the government has recently rolled out a national automobile scrappage policy to deal with old and unfit polluting private and commercial vehicles. And this step would bring 25 to 30% reduction in vehicular air pollutants. It is also aimed at extracting maximum value out of old vehicles based on the world's best global tech practices. It will provide recycled and low-cost raw material for automobile components such as aluminum, lithium, steel, and will further bring down the manufacturing cost of vehicles. In 5-year time, we aim to make India's automobile sector the number one in the world. This will lead to a large-scale employment generation. With so many progressive ideas of the government, I invite all of you to join and contribute in this mission of nation building with your skills, because I always believe that the human resource is the biggest resource for any organization and setup. With these few words, I wish the Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies all the very best for all successful conference, and we are looking forward to your recommendations and findings for the betterment of the Indian economy and the society. Wish you all a safe and healthy and prosperous upcoming new year. Once again, giving thanks to all of you. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir, for yet another delightfully insightful, thought-provoking and a visionary talk. I'm sure the over 500 MBA students, another 80-odd faculty, and over 100 researchers who are presenting their papers today have benefited from your talk, and they will carry the message that you have conveyed and act on it. It's time now for release of the SIMS Journal of Applied Management Jignasa, which is a biannual journal where we publish papers of faculty and researchers from across the globe after blind peer review. We are honored to have the Honorable Minister release Volume 13, Issue 2 of SIMS Journal of Applied Management Jignasa electronically. The IT team will click on the link for all to see the release of SIMS Journal. This is the journal, and we are grateful to you, sir, for releasing the journal. Due to the ongoing Parliament session, the Honorable Minister will be leaving in a few minutes, while we will continue with the rest of the inaugural program. So I now request Dr. Vidya Yaravdekar, Honorable Pro-Chancellor, to propose the vote of thanks, after which the corporate presentation team will take the proceedings forward for rest of the inaugural session. May I request Dr. Vidya now?
Thank you, sir. Honorable Nitin Gadkari ji, Dr. Muzumdar sir, our Chancellor, Dr. Gupte, our Vice Chancellor, Brigadier Divekar, faculty members, researchers who have joined in large numbers, and my dear students. I think what Dr. Muzumdar sir said sums it all, that Nitin Gadkari ji is an innovator, a very passionate worker, and more importantly for Symbiosis, he is a very, very close friend and family. Because of him, we see the beautiful 75 acres campus in Nagpur. And sir, you will be happy to know that apart from the Law College, the SIBM MBA program, the BBA program, the School of Architecture and Design, this year we have started 2 new institutions. One is the Symbiosis Center for Skill Development, and the second is the Symbiosis Institute of Technology, which is our computer science engineering college, which has already received more than 100 admissions, even though we started so late. We are eagerly waiting for you to come to the campus to inaugurate the beautiful auditorium that we have created. And as very rightly said by Sir, that I think we should develop a new concept, Brigadier, called Gadkari management. The innovation that he brings in, the style of his functioning, the way a leader can actually not just envision things, but get them executed. And we saw it so well in the film that was just depicted before his speech. I think sums it all. And therefore, I think your institution should take a lead, interview Honorable Minister, and see how well, a leader can actually not just be a visionary, but also an executor, and not just dream of something, but ensure that his dream comes into reality. So with these few words, sir, I once again thank you very much. I know you run a very, very busy schedule, but I'm very happy that you accepted our invitation and joined our virtual program at the SIMSARC conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are grateful to you for accepting our invite and delivering this talk. So with this few words, I thank you, and the rest of the participants to please stay behind for the rest of the function.
Thank you, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, Honorable Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, for his presence and sharing his thoughts. And now, we would like to take the opportunity to introduce our guest of honor, Mr. Vibhor Talreja. Vibhor Talreja is the Managing Director, Everstone Capital Advisors Private Limited, India. Sir is the alumnus of IIT Kanpur and IIM Bangalore, and is a seasoned investment professional, having invested and divested over $2 billion each across both public and private investment. He joined Everstone in 2019 as the managing director to lead the financial service investment. He has invested across growth and buyouts in multiple sectors, including financial services, industrial, consumer, real estate, and telecom sector. Prior to joining Everstone, he was working as a director with Temasek India for over 12 years. He has also worked with JM Morgan Stanley and Tata Administrative Services. We welcome you to SIMSARC 2021, Mr. Vibhor. So we hand over to you, Mr. Vibhor.
Thank you, Dr. Aarti, Honorable Minister, respected directors, and the entire faculty of SIMS. I am honored and elated to be part of SIMS 12th Annual International Research Conference. Thank you for inviting me. As a private equity professional, I couldn't relate more with the theme of the conference, which is New Normal, New Ways, Implications for Business, Environment, and Society. We are probably at the forefront of living through this new ways almost every day. I must start by saying that to an extent, we have always been in a new normal, and we will always be. Maybe solar power was the new normal, say 5 to 7 years back. Mr. Gadkari mentioned about electric vehicles being the new normal in the near future, and maybe the hydrogen fuel powered vehicles and flying cars will be the new normal in 5 to 10 years. It may come out as a bit surprising that we can have flying cars within 10 years for public use, but from a pure probabilistically speaking, the probability of that happening is extremely high. It's not very different from what any of us would have assumed, let's say 10 years back, that solar power would be so cheap that it would lead to closure of running coal power plants. Installation of new coal power plants is anyways a thing of the past, but there are coal power plants being run in US which have been shut, not because of environmental concerns, but because commercially it is cheaper to produce power solar than the variable cost of coal. So that's that's the pace of new normal. What has changed for sure is that this pace of change, which is developing new normals probably every 5 to 7 years, has become much, much, much shorter. The cycles are faster. We're almost entering a new normal every 3 to 4 years. It has implications for all of us at multiple levels, but maybe I'll first talk about business. As managers of the business, most of us tend to enter into a comfort zone and try to do things like we have done a few years back. That's human psyche, and the new normal and the pace of the new normal puts us exactly against that. Till a few years back, let me take an example, let's say, of some of the restaurant delivery, food delivery companies. Till 2 years back, they had gathered scale, but they were struggling and dealing with a normal that most shoppers wanted that service but had massive reluctance to pay. In which case, there was exceptionally high cash flow losses being incurred on a daily basis. Some of those losses, I would say, would picturize this. The annual cash loss of the top 2 food delivery companies in India 2 years back, pre-COVID, would be in excess of $1 billion. This is cash loss. The profit loss would be much more. When you are incurring that kind of cash losses, you are questioning your business model every day. And from there, partly because of COVID, the need for that service increased manyfold, the operating leverage kicked in, the consumer's openness, willingness, ability to pay increased in. Today, they are cash neutral business. And in 2 years, now the new normal is not for the new delivery business, but for every restaurant that existed. Because if you are not in a food delivery business and you're a restaurant, you probably will not have much reasons to exist in the next 24 months. So this is more of a flipping of coin where within various facets of an industry, the value chain shifted from one part to another, driven by COVID as an event. And that is happening across industries. Pick an industry where this is not happening, it will be difficult. We as Indians are at the forefront of the payment revolution that is happening worldwide. Our regulators, you would be proud to know that the NPCI and the UPI and the adoption of mobile payments through either wallet or UPI is exceptionally high in Asia, more than the Western world and the European world. And in Asia, it's largely China and India that are the leaders of that. And it starts with Aadhaar, KYCs, and then the NPCIs, and then opening up that entire infrastructure. And today, 10 years back, ATMs were the new norm, and those were the high growth companies. And now cash is a passe. It's definitely not cool, still used, but not used by the profitable consumers because the usage is largely in the rural. So that business model again has fundamentally got disrupted and changed. Pick another business as an example again. Think of lending business. If you look at the last 2 decades, till probably 2 decades back, it used to be a Herculean task for mid to large size corporate to seek financing available largely from public sector enterprises. Sometime back, that became a more open world and larger organizations had limited issues seeking debt. The issue was more on personal credit. That problem got solved in the 2000s, where salaried professionals were getting credit easier, cheaper, faster. You and I represent that facet of society, and which is why we are probably receiving 2 calls a day to take a credit card and a mortgage loan. That problem still continued to inflate the smaller SME enterprises, as well as the rural retail, let's say the non-salaried professional. Last 5 years, that has changed significantly. The fintechs have changed the way you access SMEs. and the MSMEs. And today, they are getting loans at the click of a button. Small loans still, but the selection process has started. All sorts of rural secured loan, including vehicle loans and all, are available at equal ease now. The personal and the unsecured loan beyond microfinance yet to pick up. But all of this again came via digitization and technology making things cheap. My point is that across each segments, digitization, technology, giving additional comfort to the consumer is changing the new normal every 3 to 4 years. And most of these business models, the underpinning of it is giving more to the consumer, more ease, more convenience. We are all getting spoiled by the Ubers and the Zomatos and the Amazons and the net bankings and the UPIs and the NPCIs, and any business, including education, if I may refer to that as part business, would have to change a lot towards making it more and more accessible and easier and faster and more knowledgeable and a lot more useful to the consumer. So that's where we are in the new normal. I think I addressed a lot on the business part of the new normal, but probably equally important to mention the other two pivots, which is the environment as well as the society. As somebody who is into fundraising business, I cannot tell you the pace at which the ESG norms have flown into the investment world. Till 3 years back, I wouldn't even be doing lip service to ESG when I am there out to raise funds from foreign LPs. But today, it is definitely gone way beyond lip service. It probably, at the optics of it, it is already at the pivot and the center of all discussions. But I expect if the rate of change is even half of what it has been in the last 3 years, it will genuinely become the forefront and the center of everything that happens around fundraising. Some of our LPs are limited partners who give us funds and have say in what we as investors can and cannot do, have already put pretty, I would not say severe, but pretty clear, watertight conditions of what we cannot. And we have in the past 2 years let go of profitable commercial investments because they were on the fence of the ESG norms, such as some of the specialty chemical companies. And it's not like they were manufacturing coal tar. Every coin has two sides, and their product had a lot of advantages, but they come at times with a bar which is not as high as today's society is expecting for environment, and then you have to let go. That would be something which would be close to unthinkable 3 years down the line, but that has happened. And so is, and probably it's the society driving the environmental needs. So across each of these segments, it is faster. More than society, I would touch it at an individual level. I started my address by saying that it is human psyche to continue to do what we have done, what we are good at. But the environment around us, the pace of the new normal becoming shorter and shorter, is giving each individual of us lesser and lesser time to change this and become more and more adaptable to a faster change. So if you look around yourself, amongst friends, amongst colleagues, I think the next coming decades, or definitely the next decade, is going to be about people who are able to change their mindsets, change their habits, change their performance criteria, change their beliefs, maybe value systems much faster than others, because it would be required. Otherwise, we would be just playing a catch-up game. And playing a catch-up game in a competitive business is the last thing any business would like to do. So that's how I would like to end my address to all of you. Like I said, very happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Hope you internalize and absorb the new ways and the new normal faster than anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vibhor, for your encouraging words and deep insight into the food delivery and the ESG and other parts. Now, we would like to release the compendium for SIMSAC 2021. We have received more than 200 papers, of which 40 papers have been selected for presentation. Now, we request our guest of honor, Mr. Talreja, to release the same. So, may I request Vibhor to share the screen and release the compendium?
Okay, I guess this took a minute. I think you have in front of you the abstract of the compendium Dr. Aarti was referring to. I would like to congratulate each one of you who have contributed to this. I could manage to read the abstract, and it probably says in a lot better ways, in a lot more nuanced ways, what I was trying to refer in my address to all of you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Now, I would like to request our director, Brigadier Dr. Rajiv Divekar, sir, to deliver the vote of thanks for the inaugural function.
Thank you, Dr. Aarti. It's an honor and a privilege to propose the vote of thanks. I'm extremely grateful to Mr. Vibhor Talreja for having found time from his busy schedule to come and deliver his guest of honor talk. What he spoke is pretty interesting and worth reiterating some of the points. While we thought that COVID has brought in new normals and new ways, he brought in an aspect which said that new normal keeps happening. It's not something new. And this has happened because of changes in technology or with new ideas being generated. And these force us out of our comfort zone, just as COVID did. It reminds me of, a book while in the army, which we read was Race to the Swift. It was that if you are swift in your maneuvers, if you are swift in your mobility, if you are swift in mental mobility, you can win a war. And so that's basically what it is there, even in the industry. He also mentioned about how cash loss changed like a flip of a coin to cash gains in case of Zomato and Amazon and others, and that digital payment, which was never envisioned earlier, is now growing in a big way, and cash is becoming passé, and which is very true. He also said that earlier lending businesses, it was difficult to get funding from them. And now, as he mentioned rightly, you get 2 calls a day, pretty frustrating because, when they ask you whether you want a loan or not, and I have to tell them, look, I'm a retired guy, I'm over 70, I don't need any funds. That's the only way to put them off, but they still keep coming. Need, of course, is to change ourselves or for the business to make it more accessible and approachable if you have to survive and thrive. Otherwise, it's a race to the swift, you'll be out of business. He also talked about how the pace of new normal is getting shorter and shorter. And so therefore, we need a change in mindset, in our value systems, in our beliefs, and in our criteria to be more competitive. As they say again in the army, mind is like a parachute. It functions best when it is open. Keep your mind open. Accept new ideas. Keep thinking about innovative ways, and you will be able to find new ways for the new normal that comes your way. So thank you very much, Mr. Vibhor Talreja, for an enlightening and an invigorating talk. I'm sure this would, help us in our research and to carry forward these in our experiences. Thank you. And I wish to thank Dr. Aarti Chandani, Dr. Komal Chopra, and the others, CP team, for, making this inaugural session a very fruitful one, where we got perspectives from the Honorable Minister and, of course, from our guest of honor, Mr. Vibhor Talreja. Thank you. Extremely grateful also to the Honorable Vice Chancellor for her presence and gracing this occasion. Your presence here is a source of inspiration to us, Dr. Rajni. We always look forward to your presence, and I'm grateful to you for once again being there for SIMSAC and for SIMS. Thank you very much.
This marks the end of the inauguration ceremony of SIMSAC 2021. All the student managers and the paper presenters are requested to log into the tracks where the links have been shared with you. I request to join the link as soon as you can join the link.
Thank you, Brigadier. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Talreja. Thank you so much.